Hmm. All right, shalom, shalom. Hmm. All right, shalom, okay, fine. Audio is working. All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Baruch HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. All right, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, son of the 144,000. That's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. All right, this is your fellow servant, Amath. Excuse me. I'm your fellow servant, Amath of GMS Toronto, coming at you again with another live lesson. Okay, and this is going to be another edition of Doomsday Prophecies, where I connect um, Bible prophecies, all right, to world events as the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Shai are to do. The true prophets of Yahweh Bashim Shai, which are the men of great millstone, starting with the apostles, all right, and the bishops and elders on down. We have 100% truth, and we boldly claim that in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, but yeah, man, in this lesson, as you see the title here, we're gonna get it. I'm gonna get into who is Amalek, all right, and that's the narrative. That's the question that's being asked of this devil. Who is Amalek? Right? And Esau, you're on your way out. Who is Amalek? Esau, you're on your way out. Okay, because before judgment comes exposure, and that's what the Lord is doing. And He started His exposure, all right, with these devils by His prophets. Okay, starting with the great, I want to say the great men, all right, Yahweh Razzah of the whole full elect, but starting with the men of great millstone, right? Starting with the apostles on and the bishops on down. All this information is coming out on Esau, Edom. They've been teaching this, okay, for decades, even before YouTube was even created, all right, before the YouTube was set up. But what we're seeing is that we're seeing prophecy play out, okay? The scriptures talk about how this devil's his tongue shall fall upon him, right? So let me open up with that, and I got a couple precepts, and I got like two clips as well I'm going to get into concerning this. His own. Okay, Psalm 64. Okay, so this is Psalm 64 and 8. Okay, it says, let me see. Let's get the full chapter. Psalm 64, verse 7. No, yeah, 8 is really the point. So Psalm 64, verse 8, it reads, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Okay. And like the Aliyah Shawarma likes to coin, when you go into the law, right, he coins these guys as a third witness, right? Because in the law, under two or three witnesses, okay, um, shall a judgment or testimony be made, roughly paraphrasing. So the third witness, we know the first and second witness is the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, right, of the nation of Israel. We read about that in Revelation. These two prophets or these two witnesses that represents the elect from the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, or southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. But you also have a third witness, which is these devil's own people. All right. All right, the top wicked elite, okay, the top tribe of the nation of Edom, Amalek, their own fellow Edomites, all right, are basically exposing them, okay, based upon the talking points of the prophets. All right, the prophets came first, and that's okay. Apostle Gabar, he from time to time, he likes to coin, this job of ours, right, being a prophet, is a thankless job. Okay, and the scriptures also tell us that we're known and yet unknown, right? So it's good. That's at the end of the day, prophecy is fulfilling itself, and we're seeing everything come out, man. And we know that the zeal is about to come down with even a greater distraction because it's all these things are, right? Even the exposure, even though it's prophecy, It's also part of this devil's distraction, because we know the end game is what? The MOTB, the mark of the beast, all right, which is the RFID chip, okay, an implantable device in the body. Okay, so verse 9 says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of Yahweh, right? Because why? The Most High sent his prophets, right, to proclaim his word, to proclaim his work, right, upon this devil and everything else that comes hereafter. Okay, upon this devil and upon his people. He has a great work upon his people in transforming, all right, the nation of Israel, his people, okay, into gods, starting with the elect, okay, of the nation of Israel. And then also exposing Esau Edom, starting with Amalek, okay, for the decrepit devil he is. Right? So that work is the Most High's work, Yahweh wa Yahweh Shai. Okay, and this is why Great Millstone, we come with the names, man. We don't call the Lord outside of his name, or the Son outside of the Lord, or the Son outside of their names, or give you the notion that you can call him whatever you want. Okay, so it says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, for they shall wisely consider of his doing. You see? Why? Because everything that takes place, is taking place, and will take place has been proclaimed to them by his prophets before time. That's the power of prophecy. Okay, and it says, verse 10, the righteous shall be glad in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem El Shai, and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. Okay, so let's go to Luke 18, okay, or Luke chapter 8, verse 17. Okay, it says, straight to the point in the King James, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest. All right, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. And this stands for both good and evil. You see, on one hand, which is the left hand, you have the evil, the wicked being exposed for their evil. Okay, and not just in this life, but it's going to be all of your wickedness is going to be exposed throughout all generations. Okay, but then on the right hand, you have the prophets, right? They're going to be revealed to the world as actually being the true prophets of Yahweh Bashem El Shai. Okay, and that's why the scriptures say that and then they should know that a prophet was among them. Okay, and NLT it says, for all that is secret will eventually be brought out. Okay, into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all. Okay, let's see. I just want to see if there's more here. But for those who are not listening, yeah, that's the point. I just want to get to the point. Let's go to the next precept. I'll bring out these clips. So next precept here is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and let's go 14. Last verse, straight to the point. It says, for Yahweh Bashem El Shai shall bring every work into judgment. Okay, with every secret thing. So you Edomites, all right. I'm talking about these low-level Edomites, everyday, going Edomites. All right, they don't know anything. But you top wicked elite, all right, that watch the videos of the true prophets. You know that you're on your way out. Why? Because you're being exposed. Not only are you being exposed on the internet, but you're being exposed by your own people, by your own fellow Edomites. And that's prophecy. And we know that, you know, that you've tried to look at different alternatives in the future to see how you can escape judgment, and you're not going to be able to escape judgment. Maybe I'll do a lesson on that too. Look up Project Skymere. What is it? It's Project Looking Glass. Yeah, we know what that's about. Project Looking Glass. Okay, in which the apostles, the various bishops and elders have been bringing that out from time. Okay, so you're not going to escape the judgment that Yahweh Bashem Shah has set for you, and you know this. Okay, you've already lost. Okay, you've already lost. It says, for Yahweh Bashem Shah shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. God, straight to the point. That's what I said earlier. Okay, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 6. Okay, so Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 6, it says, "For wisdom," in the King James, "is a loving spirit and will not acquit a blasphemer." Okay, and outside of 2/3 of our people, the biggest blasphemer on the planet Earth are these devils, man. All right, the so-called white man, which his biblical nationality is Esau, Edom. All right, and the top wicked of that nation is AMALAK. All right, and you should know who those are today. All right, which I'm going to get the clip. I'm going to get the clip, and it's going to explain itself. "For wisdom is a loving spirit and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For Yahweh Bashim Shai is witness of his reigns," right? "And a true beholder of his heart," right? Going into the mind. Okay, this is why the scriptures say that the pride of your heart, Esau, has deceived you. The pride of your heart has deceived you. Don't you know the Most High sees your mind? He gives you the thoughts that you have because you're working, all right, for him. Satan, right, the spiritual demon Satan that you worship works for the Most High. Okay, he's really a double agent, right? So it says, "For Yahweh Bashim Shai is witness of his reigns and a true beholder of his heart and a hearer of his tongue. For the Spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, filleth the world." And this is why you're being exposed on all sides. Okay. "And that which containeth all things has knowledge of the voice." Okay. That's the Most High. Okay. It says, "Therefore he hears voices, obviously out loud, and voices in your head." So in other words, there's nothing you can hide from Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right. And his holy angels. "Therefore he," and the prophets. Okay, we got the Rakakadash. So it says, "Therefore he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid. Speaketh and doeth unrighteous things," right? "Cannot be hid. Neither shall vengeance, when it punisheth, pass by him." Okay? Look up Project, if you don't already know about it, all right? Look up Project Looking Glass. And these devils have tried to tap into the future and see um, alternative storylines, so to speak, all right, alternative storylines to their end, and they basically they've been trying to find a way around their judgment, and it doesn't matter how they look at it or what angle they take when they look into the future, right, through this technology that they have. The end goal is almost the same, which is their demise, and then getting their ass kicked by Jake in the future. They know this. The top wicked elite, they know this, man. I'm gonna get the clip. Even regular Edomites now are able to tie the Rothschilds to Esau Edom. Regular Edomites, man, and our the apostles and the bishops and elders and various brothers, we've been bringing this out. Okay, so it says, "Therefore," that's the spirit, man. That's the spirit. "Therefore, he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punisheth, pass by him. For inquisition shall be made into the counsel of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, for the manifestation of his wicked deeds." Okay. Um, let me get this in the GNT. Okay. So for Wisdom Solomon chapter 9, chapter 1, verse 9. In the GNT it says, "The intentions of ungodly people will be closely examined." You see, first and foremost by the Most High and His Son and the holy angels. Then that's passed down via the Holy Spirit, which is also the angels, to the prophets. Okay, we're at the forefront of exposing this devil. And now, like I've been mentioning, you have a third witness, and that's prophecy. All right, his own fellow Edomite. All right, it's exposing him. Okay, it's exposing these devils. The intentions of ungodly people will be closely examined. Their words will be reported to the Lord, Yahweh Bashim El Shai, and when they get their punishment, the punishment that their wickedness deserves. Okay, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah will not tolerate no challenge, and that's all Esau is, right? Because he's under the spirit of Satan, right? He's a physical counterpart of Satan. And what does the word Satan mean, right? It means adversary. So he's adverse to everything of the Most High. Okay, everything on the right hand side of the Most High, he's adverse to. Okay, and that's Yahweh Shai and the elect of the nation of Israel on down. So it says Yahweh Bashim Al Shai will tolerate no challenge. And since he hears everything, you cannot hide your complaining from him. Yeah, you're shit talking. Okay, both with Esau, Edom, because that's also the word in King James, murmured. Okay, and this is everything that Jacob was doing in the wilderness. So also with Esau, Edom, you're shit talking, your blasphemies, but also you Jakes, you wicked rebels of the nation of Israel, man. Starting with those of you that know that you're Israelites. The Lord said, I'll start the house of my sanctuary, man. All right, so let's get this clip here. I got this clip. This is from GMS Get This Work 2. Subscribe and be edified. All right, and the Rosh, this says Rosh shield, or Rothschild means shield of Edom. Okay, Rothschild means shield of Edom. And this video has been circling for a bit now, so you might have already seen this. But that's okay.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yeah, Second Thessalonians, I'll read it. Second Thessalonians 2 and 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except what day? This man's downfall and the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, which happens simultaneously. Those two events are synonymous with each other. And that's also the beginning of the kingdom of heaven, is this man's downfall. Okay? Because during his fall, all right, as Yahweh Shai said, the kingdom of heaven is in you. The whole full elect will receive this truth, and that's the beginning as well of the kingdom of heaven. So this man is already on his way out, as we're in the midst of him being exposed, day in and day out. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. Okay, we explain what day that is, except there come a falling away first. Okay, and we have to fall away. The Israelites, we fell away from knowing who we are, and you have what Esau calls the dark ages. Okay, dark because we ruled, but we didn't rule as fully understanding we're Israelites. That understanding left us, right? We calling ourselves other things, Jacobites and different other names and whatnot, but we fell away ultimately as Israelites. Okay, so what? So that Esau can come into power and fulfill prophecy. It says, except that there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. That's the time we're in right now. He's being revealed, the son of perdition, which means destruction.
Today's message is Shield of Edom. Everybody say Shield of Edom. Now, this is coming from actually the term Rothschild, and we're going to talk about that today. We've kind of been on a series after the Epstein files release on Epstein and the end times and the synagogue of Satan. And this is a continuation of that series where we'll be discussing these connections. In fact, if you don't know this, in the Epstein emails, Epstein wrote Peter Thiel, who is the founder of Palantir, the surveillance company that's going to play a major role here in these last days. And he said, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. And that's a very key piece of information, because what that means is there is a hierarchy to this synagogue of Satan and to these groups of people who are serving the devil here on earth and creating a vast network, right? How is the Antichrist going to obtain control of such a large portion of the earth? Well, there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done in advance. The surname Rothschild originates from German, meaning red shield. Now, most people know that. Okay, most people realize that the Rothschilds are Ashkenazis, they're German Jews, and that their last name means red shield. They've been around for a long time. They played a major role in the facilitation and founding of the current modern state of Israel, and we're going to talk about that today. But here's the part that people don't know, and we're going to make a lot of connections. So today's sermon is really going to cover not just the Rothschild family, but this long-term connection from Edom all the way to the Antichrist in the last days. And I want you guys to see these key connections. When it's translated into Hebrew, based on its
And there's not just one antichrist, okay? There's many antichrists. That word is a compound word. If you don't already know, anti meaning against, Christ means anointed, Christos. in the Hebrew, Hamashiach, right? So those that are against the anointed, which is Yahweh Shai, right? Even Israelites are called Antichrist. The majority of Israelites are Antichrist, which is anti-Hamashiach, anti-Yahweh Shai.
Its etymological meaning, it corresponds to Magan Edom. Okay, what do I mean by that? The term Rothschild, that family name, means Magan Edom in Hebrew. Now, some people say it means red shield in Hebrew as well. Well, the problem with that is that the word for red and the word for Edom in Hebrew is the exact same word. Okay, the exact same word. And so Magan Edom would be translated into English, shield of Edom, or the shield of the Edomites. And so the Rothschild family are the shield of the Edomites.
1 Thessalonians 2:8, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, right? Starting with the prophets, first and foremost, the two witnesses, and now his own fellow Edomite. It says, and the rest of the world, right? And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. That's Yahweh Shai, right? Coming with the hosts of heaven, which the world ignorant calls UFOs, which are the chariots of the Most High, Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. Okay, so that's it on that. So he broke it down. All right. And this is something that, again, the apostles, all right, and bishops and elders and various brothers of Great Millstone have been bringing out for decades, starting with the apostles, about Edom and tying the Rothschilds to their biblical nationality, which is what? Esau, Edom, and really Amalek. Okay. Those that run around calling themselves the people, they are the people of Amalek, really, of the nation of Esau, Edom. Anyhow, so this is Nahum, chapter 3, verse 5. It says, Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face. Upon thy face, you'll discover your skirts. That's what's happening. And, the pride of this devil is so high because even though you have to understand, on one end, yes, the internet is too large for him to control. That's for sure true. All right, or else Jacob Rothschild wouldn't have made the statement that he made about they should have never created the internet. So they're being exposed to the internet, but a lot of the stuff that's being used as exposure to them, they're the ones releasing it as well. Okay, because he has this left-hand side means, it's witchcraft. Okay, all right, to basically entrap people and bombard people with information to set them up for the next step. Because remember, at the end of the day, all roads lead to the MOTB. That is the final prophecy before the destruction, all right, of America, aka Babylon the Great, and the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay, but even though he's in control of some of the information that's being released on him and exposed to him, he thinks by having that power that he truly has the power. By being able to do that, he truly has the power. But this is why the scriptures say what I've been quoting: the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Okay, at the end of the day, you're gonna get God, man. Okay, and this devil knows that. That's why at the end of it all, it's gonna be a no bars hold them. If I'm saying that correctly, he's just gonna go all out. It's gonna be like a Hail Mary, right? So let me continue. It says, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. Okay. And the Epstein files is barely even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the wickedness of these people, man. Okay. Of this nation, the Edomites. Okay. It says, I will cast abominable filth upon thee and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Okay. And it shall come to pass that all that look upon thee shall flee from thee and say, now historically, this is talking about Nineveh, right? But prophetically, we could apply this to America, because America comes in the spirit of Nineveh, just like it comes in the spirit of Rome, Egypt, and Babylon. Okay. And Sodom and Gomorrah and all those other kingdoms. So it says, shall flee from thee and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Okay. And there won't be no comforter for these Edomites when they're completely taken down. Okay. And while they're being put to shame, if anything, the hate for these Edomites is going to grow as he gets exposed more and more. Okay. Wasn't it Henry Ford, who said if the American people understood how the financial system truly worked, there would be a revolution overnight. Okay, so the more exposure this devil has or gets, right, the more he'll be hated. So let's move on to this next clip here. Yeah, okay, let's go. So this is from Jason A. All right, and this is the interview that Tucker Carlson had with what's this guy's name? Habidi or something like that. I forgot this devil's name. Maybe it'll come up. I forgot this devil's name. Maybe he'll say it, but he's a tiny hat. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
So I have two questions. What are the borders? And so I have two questions. What are the borders of that? And who are those people in 2026? And you're not the first person I've asked, but you're the most reasonable, most gentle, most theologically informed person. So I'm really hoping for an answer. Yeah. The first question was the borders. I can't get an answer. Yeah, those borders are. So I'm going to give up. But the second question is every bit as pressing, which is who are the people? Who are the modern? Yes, who are the descendants? So we know.
Who's AMALAK? Who's AMALAK?
Oh, and I believe, and I agree with you as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews, to Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
I think they're the Jews, and we know who they are because they've always been a Jewish people. There has been an unbroken line of Jewish people, and they've lived in this land for 3,800 years. Sometimes not very many.
Huckabee. His name is Huckabee, Dr. Huckabee. That's his devil's name, Huckabee. Yeah, the LDS Shawamba has that bugged out picture of him. I gotta get that real quick. Well, most of you probably already seen it. Yeah, Dr. Huckabee, that's his name. Yeah. Yeah. Mike Huckabee. That's right. Mike Huckabee. Anyways, let's continue.
Many of them, because they were chased out all over the world. They were hunted down. They were almost annihilated during the Holocaust. They came back. To this day, Tucker, they represent, you know how many Jews there are in the whole world?
On, please. No, but I understand. But first of all, the greatest genocide of Jews no one ever mentions was by the Romans, where they were literally banned from Jerusalem for 500 years.
Yeah, of course.
And
actually, the greatest genocide was hardcore child slavery. Okay. You know what? Let's ask chat. Let's see what chat. Because that's when the Lord really gave it to us as Israelites by the hand of Esau, Edom. 70 AD was bad, but hardcore slavery was worse. Let me see. Hey, chat. How many people died, Israelites died in 70 AD compared to how many Native Americans and African Americans died in chattel slavery? Let's see. Short answer, the scale isn't even close. Let's deal in sober history. Israel is killed in 70 AD, about 1.1 million Israelites. It's a lot of Israelites, man. Safe modern range, 100,000 to 600,000. Okay, death. Native Americans in 1492, 50 to 90 million indigenous people died. And that's probably on the low end. But that's serious. And then Africans in chattel slavery, 12.5. Africans were shift, about 10.7 survived the middle passage. And remember, these numbers, they're low compared to the amount of Israelites that died on the way here. So anyways, the point's made, okay? Chattel slavery is really, okay, the greatest persecution of the Israelites. Now, this is Daniel's, real quick to back myself up, Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. And we've been under a lot of captivities, but the worst captivity is the last captivity, which would be under Esau, Edom, all right, when he would call himself Caucasian or a white man, right? He's so-called white. He's really translucent. But under the Greeks and the Romans, it was bad. But him as a Caucasian is the worst. So this is Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. It says, "Yea, all Israel have transgressed the law, or thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him." Let's get that real quick, and we'll come back here. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 45. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because he asked a good question, right? Who are these people? How do we know who these people are? And you can't tie it, based upon gene, okay? Because Israel, according to prophecy, is scattered among all the nations. Now, Revelation or Romans 8 and 16 tells us that we know about the Spirit, but you have to have the Spirit as well to see that. There's a certain flavor with Jake. But another key factor to know who the true Israelites are is by the curses that were pronounced on them for disobeying the Most High. Okay, that's how you know who the true Israelites are. It's the curses. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 45. Okay, so it says what? And I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, "If you refuse to listen to the Lord Yahweh, your power, and to obey the commands and decrees he has given you, all these curses will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed." Okay? These horrors, and of course, read earlier and you'll know what those are. If you don't already, it says verse 26, "These horrors will serve," see, these horrors, right, "will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever." That means even to today. So when Tucker Carlson asked the question, let's move it back. Let's move back a couple seconds.
Line of Jewish people, and they've lived in this. Know who they are.
As it says to modern day Egypt, to this as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews, to Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
I think they're the Jews, and we know who they are because they've always been a Jewish people. There has been an unbroken line of Jewish people, and they've lived in this land for 3,800 years. Sometimes not very many of them, because they were chased out all over the world. They were hunted down. They were almost annihilated during the Holocaust. They came back. To this day, Tucker, they represent you.
Bullshit. Holocaust is bullshit, but we know this. Oh, maybe I should have said that.
How many Jews there are in the whole world?
Please,
No,
I understand. But first of all, the greatest genocide of Jews no one ever mentions was by the Romans, where they were literally banned from Jerusalem for 500 years.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, the point, right, is what? These horrors will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever. If you do not serve the Lord your power, the Lord Yahweh your power, with joy and enthusiasm for the abundant benefits you have received, you will serve your enemies, right? Whom the Lord Yahweh will send against you. You will be left hungry, thirsty, naked, lacking in everything. The Lord Yahweh will put an iron yoke upon your neck. You hear that? An iron yoke upon your neck, oppressing you harshly until he has destroyed you. Watch this. Apostle Har always goes into this. Look at this. I'm just gonna type in iron yoke. This is how you know who the true people of the Lord and the true descendants by the spirit of the covenant. Right? The descendants, all right, of Abraham through the spirit of the covenant are by the curses. Oh, iron yoke upon neck. Upon neck. What image comes up? Oh, look at that. Jakes, Israelites, yokes upon necks, yoke of iron. Look at that. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. These verses will serve a sign as to who the true Israelites are. They've been lying to the world and lying to you Israelites for centuries, man. So it's not hard. Okay? It goes, so it says, I'll read verse 49. The Lord will bring a distant nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, and right from the east to the west. Okay? And it will swoop down on you like a vulture, right? It is a nation whose language you don't understand. A fierce and heartless nation that shows no respect for the old and no pity for the young. And Amalek, the nation of Amalek, was always tied, with those characteristics because they would rob, right, and raid people on the King's Highway, right, with their caravans. And they did it to us as Israelites, right? They went after the old and the elderly and the young and the sick, right, at the back when we were going through the wilderness. These are the same people today. Okay. So yeah, let's go from here. Go to Daniel, back to Daniel, right? I'm gonna read this in NLT. It says Daniel 9 and 11. And all Israel has disobeyed your instructions and turned away, refusing to listen to your voice. So now the solemn curses and judgments written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, have been poured down on us because of our sin. Yep. So again, the point here is that the curses serve as a sign as to who the true people of the Lord are. And when you look at Amalek, all right, really, when you look at the so-called white man versus the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, and you line them up to the curses written in Deuteronomy 28, all right, you're going to find out that it's the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay, that are the true people of the Lord, the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Okay, it says, "You have kept your word and done to us and our rulers exactly as you warned. Never has there been such a disaster as happened in Jerusalem." And it's a people before it's a place. Okay, it's a people before it's a place. So that our worst time of captivity was chattel slavery. And that happened to serve as a sign to identify, not only to judge us because of our sin of worshiping other gods, okay, and prophecy to play out to come to pass, but it was served as a sign as to who we are, who do we belong to, because who's bringing these curses? The Most High Yahweh. Okay. Let's continue on in this clip here.
Of course. And it's all awful. And I'm opposed to all of that. I'm opposed to mass killing of anybody, period. I'm opposed
Glad to
to
hear you say that.
I mean it.
Yeah,
and I hope
I
you
believe
agree
that.
on
I believe that.
My question is, and it's not a bumper sticker answer, it's a sincere answer. How do we know? Because what you're saying is that certain people have a title to a highly contested region. They own it in some deep sense. So I think it's fair to ask, who are they and how do we know? So the current prime minister's ancestors weren't from here within recorded history. He has no deed.
See, Salaki, I don't mean to keep pausing this, but I have to say this. You see, everybody's looking for some scientific evidence of the truth. And when it all boils down, the only evidence that's going to stand in the end of it all is the evidence of prophecy. Okay. This man is in rulership and he deceived the whole world. So you're not going to be able to use scientific evidence. Okay. You're using pseudoscience to disprove pseudoscience. It doesn't work that way. This is why the Lord has set up his prophets. All right. It's through the spirit of prophecy that this devil would be exposed and condemned. And you would know who he is through the spirit of prophecy. Okay, it's a testimony. We're testifying against this devil, right, with the words of the Most High Yahweh. Okay, because he's the accuser of the brethren. And he's a criminal on the run. Okay, so we've been given a testimony, this word, to testify and expose this devil. So when it's all said and done, it's prophecy that's going to reveal the truth, and that has been revealed in the truth, which is going to glorify the name of Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. Okay.
Even Netanyahu, on one side, his family's from Poland. They're from Eastern Europe. So how do we know that he has a connection to the people who God promised the land to, Abram's descendants? How do we know that?
Well, if you take
But this is also prophecy.
the genealogies that come not only from the Old but the New Testament, you see that there is a historical connection through the entirety of the Old and the New Testament that details the Jewish connection to this land.
Does that include
That's
Bibi's
indisputable.
family? How do we know that if his family
Well, if they were
comes here?
scattered,
But how do we know it's
through
the
the-
same people? No, why is that crazy? If you say to me,
if they speak the same language, if they worship the same God, if they follow the same Bible, if they follow the same cultures and traditions, and they always pray next year in Jerusalem, and they pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and they pray facing toward Jerusalem, does that not give you a little bit of a clue as to who they
well,
are?
let's go through Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean,
Really?
maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world? And everybody
This is the
would-
only
would the
country in the
Brits-
world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
What about
And
people who convert to Judaism? Would they have a right?
Well, you've just said
I mean,
that
there are
it's not
converts to Judaism, so
you just told
they
me
can make Aliyah. They may not have
you've just
DNA.
told me that it doesn't matter. You told me moments ago, trying to keep track, that
Okay.
it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God or whether or not you practice Torah Judaism or Rabbinic Judaism, which is something else that I don't even know if I don't even know what that means. But
Yeah, and we've been, starting with the prophets of Great Millstone, which are the true prophets of Yahweh Shema Shai. We've been telling you that this thing of who the people, the true people of the Lord are, is based upon a lineage. It's not only just based upon the spirit. Okay, it starts with the spirit, but there's a lineage tied to it. Abraham, and Christians like to hijack Abraham and leave out Isaac and Jacob. Okay, but it's Abraham and the promise from the Lord to Abraham, all right, which the covenant would be passed down as well, of the circumcision was given to Isaac, and from Isaac to Jacob, not Esau. The Lord hated Esau and loved Jacob. And Jacob had 12 sons, which became the 12 patriarchs of the nation of Israel, 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay, so this lineage tied to it. This is why when Yahushua was born, they trace, in Matthew 1:1 and John as well, they trace his lineage. Okay, you physically have to be an Israelite, but the Lord knows who. That's why there's a parable of the wheat and the tares. The angels know who the Israelites are. Okay, we're only concerned with the elect.
it doesn't matter whether you're, quote, a religious Jew or not. What matters is that you are part of the Jewish people to whom God gave this land that extends from the Nile to the Euphrates. And so if you believe that, wouldn't you want to know with a burning passion who those people are? And because of science, we can now know who those people are. So why aren't we finding out?
I guess you could propose a DNA test for everybody who comes here, everybody who lives here. But the
I'm
point is,
comfortable with secular nation states where it's
Yeah, so just want to get that part out. That this devil is being exposed, man. It's pretty, straightforward, man. He's being exposed. This is prophecy playing out. His own tongue is falling upon him. These lower level Edomites, which, Tucker Carlson is juiced in. He's control opposition. Whether he's aware of it or not, he's still control opposition. Okay. He's fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so I got 4 more precepts, and I'll close it up. This is Psalm 7, okay, and 14. Read to 17. Psalm 7 and 14. Yeah, we're almost out of here, brothers and sisters. We're almost out of here, man. We're close. We're very, very close. Let prophecy be our delight and joy as we're seeing this devil be exposed, man. Okay? Because this shows you that he's coming there with all this information coming out about him. He's coming out with something. He's coming down with something even heavier than the Epstein files and who's AMALAK and this whole Mexico thing. Because February was the month of Epstein and Mexico and who's AMALAK. And we're entering March, right? March is also the month of war. So let's stay tuned. All right, let's stay tuned for what Yahweh Shemel Shah has in store for in the next couple of days, man. Okay. Now they're talking about Trump is talking about revealing files on aliens, which we know those are the angels of the Most High. Okay, but the aliens that they present, those are actually drones. When you really go into it, they're drones in human in biological tissue. That's another lesson for another day. But okay, anyway, Psalm 7 and 13, it says, He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the prosecutors. Behold, okay, and that's ultimately going to be those arrows are ultimately going to be ICBM missiles that are going to destroy America, aka Babylon the Great. Right? The spiritual arrows are prophets speaking this truth and exposing this devil. Okay. It says, Behold, verse 14, behold, he travaileth with iniquity and has conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. Okay, that's why this devil is being exposed. Okay. NLT, it says, the wicked conceive evil. They are pregnant with trouble and give birth to lies. Okay, I'll continue. It says in verse 15, they dig a trap, they dig a deep pit to trap others, then fall into it themselves. Again, the pride of your heart, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. That's what this is talking about. Are you building a trap, a deep pit to trap others with all these psyops, but all you're doing, okay, is fulfilling prophecy and falling into it yourself. So that at the end of it all, you'll fall into it yourself. Because mark our words, man, and mark the words of Yahweh Shemel Shai, really. The words of Yahweh Shemel Shai. You devils are going into slavery, starting with the top with your elite. You are going into slavery under the Israelites, all right? Starting with the elect, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the other speckled birds out there, okay? So it says, verse 16, in the NLT, the trouble they make for others backfires on them. You see? The trouble they make for others backfires on them, right? Like the internet. That's one example. The violence they plan falls on their own heads. You see? So the violence that they plan really for the Israelites, starting with the elect, is really going to fall on their own heads during the time of slavery. Because you're not going to get the elect. You'll get 2/3 because the Lord has given 2/3 into your hands. The Lord is administering their judgment through you. Okay, but the whole full elect, you're not going to get them. What you're going to receive is shackles and chains by the hands of the whole full elect upon you. Okay, so your violence, the violence they plan, falls on their own heads. I will thank the Lord Yahweh Bashim El Shai because he is just. I will sing praises to the name of the Lord Yahweh Bahashim El Shai, Most High. Okay, beautiful. Go next one. This is Proverbs 26 and 26 and 26. So Proverbs 26 and 26. We read down to 27. It says, while they're, and this is in the NLT as well. I'll read it first in King James, then come back. It says, whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness, right? And this devil's hatred is covered by deceit. Okay, but guess what? Because he knows he have a short time, as the scriptures say, he's gonna come down having great wrath, which means he's not gonna give a shit about the fact that you know that he hates you anymore. He's just gonna come down with great wrath, knowing that he have a short time. Okay, because remember, look into Project what's it called? Looking Glass, Project Looking Glass. They can see into the future. They have technology to see into the future, but the outcome, all right, no matter how they look at it and try to alter it, has always been the same, and that's them being in slavery under the Israelites, getting their ass kicked. Okay, so you know, um, constantly seeing that end, he's like, "Fuck it, you know what? Let's go." Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. It tells you that they're like, okay, let's see. He proclaims that he's the son of the Most High, and this, that, and the Lord, this, that, and the third. The Lord's going to save him. Well, let's see. Okay. Again, the pride of that heart has deceived thee. Whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. Right? Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. Okay, NLT, it says, while their hatred may cover, while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, okay, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public. This is what we're witnessing. Okay. If you set a trap for others, you will get caught in it yourself. If you roll a boulder down on others, it will crush you instead. And that's exactly what's going to happen to Esau Edom. Okay, starting with Amalek. A lying tongue hates its victims, and flattering words can cause ruin. Yep. And you 2/3, you rebels, have been flattered by the devil. You've been flattered by the devil, and that's going to cause your own ruin. Okay, it's going to cause your own ruin, man. That's why it says a lying tongue hates its victims. You're his victim, but yet you sold out for what's barely even crumbs on his table. And there's no amount of money to sell out, all right, against his truth. Okay, but hey, we know that it was pre-written for these people to do what they do, man. It's pre-written for them to do what they do. So let's go to Revelation 12 and 9. So this is Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. It reads in the King James, it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, right, the deceiver. Okay, these so-called white people, which their biblical nationality is Esau, Edom. Okay, also as Amalek, as the head tribe of the nation of Edom. They are devils, which just means deceiver. They deceive. They've deceived the whole world. This is why people are asking, like Tucker Carlson and others, who is Amalek? Who are you people? Are you who you say you are? Right? And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. This is showing you that serpent was a man with the spiritual demon Satan on him, wasn't an actual literal snake. Okay? Which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation, right? So this devil has been cast out, and his angels, talking about his technology and all his stooges and everybody that's in cohorts with him, but it's really his technology. That's his angels. His angels is his technology on the left-hand side. Okay. This Second Thessalonians talk about counterfeit miracles, man. Okay. So the angels on the left-hand side for this devil is his technology, hence AI. And his angels were cast out with him, so they're destroyed, right? Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, when Yahushua comes back, he's going to destroy them. Okay. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come the salvation, you see, and the strength and the kingdom of our power, and the kingdom of our Lord, of our power, Yahweh, Bashim Shai, and the power of his anointed Yahweh Shai, for the accuser of our brethren, right, is cast down, be accusing us before the world and before the Most High and his Son, that we're not the people, we're hypocrites. To the world, we're just a bunch of niggas, spicks, okay, and savages, right? Don't know no better, drink, pop bottles, do drugs, party and bullshit. But it's been your system that induced that behavior in the people of Israel. And you've been hiding from that. But now you're being exposed, and the Lord sees everything you do. You devils are done. You're on your way out. You're on your way out. You're finished. And I can't wait, man. Yahweh Bashim Shai make me up the whole full. I can't wait to get a taste to put my hands on you devils, man. It says, and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, with which accuse them before our power day and night. All right? Day and night. This is why, the scriptures in Ephesians 16:12 tells us that we're fighting against spiritual powers, all right, in high places. And the NLT says in the unseen world, man. Listen, brothers and sisters, the hell we're catching, we know it's coming from the Lord, but remember that there's a vibration from this devil that he's sending out. All right? They have demons that come directly to us because we're the ones with the truth. Okay, so that's another thing, man. We're literally fighting against your enemy in the spiritual realm. Through your mind, through your everyday events, man. You might just get an emotion on you that you don't know where it came from. But those are the enchantment that these top wicked elites are sending out throughout the earth. And the first target are those that actually have the truth, not these peons in their illusion of a society. It's us. Okay, but we have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting using prayer, fasting, the spirit, scriptures, studying, doing lessons. We got to stay active in the spirit, all right, so that our faith can continually grow. Everything is about growing our faith. Everything. And that's how we're going to overcome this devil. Is through our faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai, man. And that's nothing he can tap into. He can't touch that. He can't take it away from the elect. And that drives him crazy. It drives him crazy to the point where he's going to kill them, and it's still not going to work. Talk about being hunted down, man. Haunted. Okay, you're truly going to be haunted by your adversary, Esau. Okay, and that's us, the whole full left. Yahweh wrestles up above that number, man. So let's this is gonna be my last verse. Revelation 18 and 23. It says here, in the King James, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for they by sorceries were all nations deceived. Okay, by that sorcery, all nations were deceived. So you, through your sorcery, right, your left-hand side magic, or your left-hand side means, through your technology, you've been able to, especially during during the turn of a century, right? The turn of the century, from the 19th century to the 20th century. That's really when you had technology, all right, more than the public knew. Okay, so MK Ultra, all these different projects that you've used, okay, that these devils have used to trick people, the educational system, the music, the food, all of it, into creating a narrative that's all going to crash upon his own head, and a crash upon the heads of you You people, I'm talking to Israel, forget the heathens, but you rebels that buy in to that narrative, to his false narrative. It's going to come crashing upon your head. You got Israelites thinking that they can be Israel and chant down Esau Edom, which is not even chanting down Esau Edom now. Now you're saying the heathens all the heathens can make it too. Okay, you rebels think that you guys are devils, all right, with the wicked of Israel. You think that you're going to be able to have a kingdom and join hand in hand with Esau Edom when the Lord says that though they join hand in hand, the wicked should not go out unpunished, man. So both of y'all are going to get killed, man. Fuck 2/3 and fuck Esau Edom, man. Excuse my French. Okay. NLT says the light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The happy voices of brides and grooms will never be heard in you again. Thank goodness. Okay? Thank fucking goodness, man. Sick and tired of this place. For your merchants were the greatest in the world, right? Traffic, money, and the merchants are talking about the bankers, top wicked elite. Those are true merchants, okay? The greatest in the world. This is why the world has been given into their hands. And you deceive the nations with your sorceries. In your streets flowed the blood of the prophets. Yep, because you're going to kill some of the prophets, which they're going to be martyrs for this truth. Okay, this is a heavy judgment, man, to have the blood of a prophet on your hand, a true prophet of Yahweh Shem Shai. That's crazy. That's crazy. It says, in your streets flowed the blood of prophets, of the prophets, and of Yahweh Shem Shai's holy people. Okay, and the blood of the holy people talk about the Israelites, and the blood of the people slaughtered all over the world, man. Damn, you devils are done. You devils are done, man. You have a world, centuries, ages, eons of suffering, torment, okay? And did I say suffering? Okay, I'll say it again. You have that coming for you from the Most High by His people, through His people, the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians, so-called. You're finished. Okay, you're on your way out, man, and you're being exposed. So may Yahweh Shem Shai speed this thing up, man, and destroy these devils, man, and get us up out of here. Yahweh Ratazah. But with that, I'm going to close up. Okay, that's it for this lesson. Lord willing, it was straightforward and edifying to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. We give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of great most will rule well. All right, and I've taught this word in truth and sincerity and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000. That's pushing this word in truth and sincerity, man. Abba, Kwama Sha'ala, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. Lord willing and straightforward and edifying. Stay strong, man, and keep building up your faith. This devil's almost done. He's almost done. He's on his way out.